The upcoming full moon lunar eclipse on September 7th, 2025, 2:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please adjust for wherever you are in the world. We'll be in the sign of Aquarius. And if you're like, hey, wait a minute, everybody's saying it's Pisces, that's because we are using the actual sky here, folks. This is called true Sidereal Astrology, otherwise known as alchemical astronomy, because we are, again, looking at the visible sky. So you can see the zodiac are all different sizes because the constellations are all different sizes. And we also include our friend Ophiuchus here, the 13th sign. So using this lens of astrology, we get a more accurate representation of what is actually going on as far as the alchemical energetic combinations of the luminaries' etheric bodies as they move through the constellations known as the zodiac. And in my experience, which is quite extensive, it's way more accurate. So if you're looking to actually harness the authentic energies of the luminaries and etheric bodies as they are in the visible sky, stay tuned. So whenever we have a full moon, we are at the apex of the lunar cycle. The moon is always opposing the sun, and it is at the fullest point of the cycle. The moon, as a reminder, acts as a magnet to pull things to the surface for us in order to alchemize them and evolve or lighten the load, okay? So we send the density of the karmic baggage to the moon when it's full, because it's a magnet. And so this means that shit gets real usually around the full moon. And this one is especially powerful because it is not only a lunar eclipse, but it is also a nodal full moon. As we can see, the moon is right next to the north node, also in Aquarius. And the sun is getting pretty darn close to the south node in Leo. Okay, so this is magnifying the theme of karmic release on a collective level when it comes to this lunation. Okay, so with this energy of the north node and the full moon both being in Aquarius, we are having this theme of collective future timelines, big shifts, karmic acceleration, and like all the Aquarian themes, right? So those of you or those people who have been really mad at me for saying that it's not the age of Aquarius yet, because one, Pluto has nothing to do with that, and it's also in Capricorn. But we can embody those energies, right? Especially with the North Node in Aquarius for the next year. We're really having this collective movement towards innovation, freedom, rebellion, doing things differently, thinking outside of the box, like just being independent, right? Releasing ourselves from the shackles of the patriarchy, the hustle and grind, the oppressive external locus of control, connecting our worth to our productivity. All of that is being dismantled as the North Node moves through Aquarius over the next year, also as Pluto moves through Capricorn, okay? It's not a bad thing that Pluto is not in Aquarius yet. We have some destruction to do first, okay? We got to dismantle these systems before the new ones can be built. So the moon being at the fullest point of its lunation, being that close to the North Node in Aquarius, is really bringing this energy of freedom and rebellion. Could also feel really restless. If you're in a situation where you are really being oppressed by the current structures, it's going to become really obvious, okay? And my reminder to you is that everything that is happening outside of you is a reflection of your internal landscape, okay? You don't need to fight or react with tension or contraction when these things happen. The best way to move through these things is to soften and surrender, and you do that by calming your body down and putting your attention inwards, okay? Remember that everything is happening to you and through you, for you and through you, I should say. There's nothing to be afraid of, and you're not a victim, okay? The sun being real close to the south node moving through Leo over the next 2 years is going to bring an end to performative leadership, like the spiritual influencer era, these outdated structures based on external validation, drama, being boastful in a way that puts other people down, right? Like performative spirituality, performative leadership, all of that kind of stuff has to do with the South Node in Leo, and the sun lighten that shit up with this full moon. We're going to see a lot of this become more salient, okay? So you might be finding yourself being way more irritated by the spiritual influencers popping onto your feed. And my suggestion is to block them so you don't see that, okay? Because we don't want to be absorbing things into our field right now that make us mad or irritate us, because how you feel is what creates your reality. You want to be turning your attention to things that light you up and make you curious, right? Those playful aspects of Leo, because we do have a lot of Leo energy going on right now still. We have Venus moving just into Leo, okay? So this the valuing of the Leo characteristics, which is prideful leadership, heart-centered leadership, charisma, pleasure, play. Okay, so Venus moving through Leo is really bringing that to the surface. Like we want to just play more. Like we should just play more. That really is the antidote to the oppressive structures. And I know that is definitely easier said than done in some ways. But your perspective and the way that you feel is up to you to decide. So how can you play in your day-to-day, even if your day-to-day is like really oppressive and shitty, okay? So we also have Mercury, how we think and communicate in Leo. So this magnified energy of play, pleasure, heart-centered leadership, and releasing the shadow aspects of Leo as the South Node is opposing the full moon. Other prominent energies in this lunation include Pisces. So we still have this combination of Saturn and Neptune slowly moving away from each other, but still close enough to be considered conjunct. They're both in retrograde, so we have the builder and the dissolver, okay? So this kind of push-pull in Pisces. So this like disillusionment, the veil being very thin, prioritizing your spirituality, really feeling the need to bring some structure to your spiritual life, bringing this idea into your reality that you don't need to be woo or disembodied to be spiritual. You can be a practical human and still be magical as heck. Okay, that's this idea right here. And then we have Chiron in retrograde in Pisces. So these are wounds around our spirituality, our receptivity, our femininity, that deep water, the mutable water of Pisces, the depths of the feminine ocean of our human experience. The wounds of that, okay, are being pushed on, especially because you can't see it on this chart, but there is an opposition going on between the wounds, like wounded healer Chiron in Pisces, and Mars in Virgo. So Mars in Virgo, this is like assertion, doing energy, how you be in the world. And that in Virgo, like if you're feeling the urge to start a new health routine, to get moving, maybe to organize your home, like that is this energy right here. And like it's September too, right? So we used to, when I worked in the fitness industry, we used to call September January's little brother in the fitness industry, because gym enrollments and personal training sales always went way up, okay? And I know I've been feeling that as well. So we have an opposition between doing things, getting your poop in a group, so to speak, pushing against your wounds around your healing and your spirituality and your femininity and your receptivity. This is really like, honestly, almost the push-pull between the feminine expansive energy of receiving and the masculine energy of doing, okay? This productivity and the hustle culture and the grind that we've been conditioned into believing is the only aspect of creation. But we know, looking at the fourth way specifically and the law of three, that you need both the masculine doing energy, the feminine receiving energy, and the third force of blank space, the incubating force, in order for anything to come into being, okay? So we have this push-pull happening, but it's also a T-square because they're both squaring up to Jupiter in Gemini. So this expansion of new ideas, curiosity, being able to entertain different paradigms. So altogether, this is really giving like a potential for misinformation, maybe exaggeration, restless mental loops, like an expansion on anxiety or being in your head when it comes to this tension between doing things and like productivity and just like sitting back and receiving, okay? So my recommendation to mitigate this tension while we have this karmic nodal axis attention going on is to lean into your spiritual toolkit. Remember, the 2 steps to enlightenment or becoming a more spacious being is to calm your body down and turn your attention inwards. If you do those 2 things with regularity, nothing is really ever a big deal. Nothing is too much to manage. And even when you do get triggered, because it's not about not getting triggered ever, that is a falsehood, okay? You are a human. You're going to have reactivity at some point in a human body. So it's not about that not happening, but it's about it happening with less intensity and a shorter duration, because you're able to realize that you can feel the difference when your baseline is calm. and centered in your internal locus, when you have these instances where you're triggered externally, they don't last as long because you're like, oh, wait, this is not normal. And oh, yeah, wait, I don't need to fight anything. I need to just bring those fragmented aspects of myself home. Okay. And P.S., if you've been missing my content, this is a great segue into explaining, my absence. I've been offline for a number of weeks because I've been dealing with some stuff in the physical world that was extremely triggering to me, because it threatened the most important relationship in my life, which is that of mine with my teenage daughter. So, and I'm not going into details about what happened because it's nobody's business but hers and mine, and, the authorities are involved. But the theme of that, beyond the physical aspect of it, there's always a spiritual lesson to everything, right? So when you have something really stressful or traumatic happen in your physical world, that is a lesson that your soul is trying to show you. It is trying to point to you the areas of yourself that are still fragmented. And for myself, is this belief of people don't understand me, and that the way that I think is bad, and I'm going to be punished by society because I'm such an outlier, right? So because I had those beliefs deep inside, beyond my conscious awareness, the physical environment is going to reflect that. And it just happened to be super dramatic in the way that it came out, right? So, but because of the toolkit that I have, I was able to calm my body down and put my attention inwards and get through the situation without smacking a bitch. So, and P.S., I got a comment on one of my YouTube videos that they unliked and unsubscribed because they don't like my language. And I'm sorry, this is how I speak. I'm one part intellectual genius, one part hood rat. So if you don't like cursing, you're going to need to find another sidereal astrologer. I'm sorry. Anywho, back to the lunation. Okay. So this energy, the T-square, the opposition with the push-pull of the wounds of the receiving, the desire to do and organize and perfect and even alchemize, honestly, with that Virgo energy, and then the expansion of that Gemini energy, all kind of pushing up against each other, is going to require your discernment and conscious communication. Be careful with what you say to, even people who don't believe in astrology are affected by the full moon in particular. There are statistics as far as, accidents and things like that happening on the full moon, because it brings this shit to the surface for everybody. And when you're operating from the external locus, you think it's the world attacking you, and people usually fight back, right? So be mindful of your words, and maybe keep things to yourself for now. Take a beat before you express something potentially spicy, because you might not get the reaction that you're looking for. There's a big potential for irritation and fighting kind of energy with everything that's going on here, and especially with it being eclipse season, with it being a lunar eclipse and a nodal lunar eclipse at that. There's, chaotic energy in the field. So do your best to keep that within yourself. Put your attention inwards, and don't worry about external conflicts if you can at this point in time. Now, there is also another formation that we're not seeing on the map here for this lunation, and it involves a yod, the finger of God, pointing directly at the north node, which is pretty close to the full moon. So we'll also include that within that orb. So we've got a 150-degree angle happening here, and a quincunx between this Mars energy in Virgo and Venus freshly in Leo. So Venus is the feminine, Mars is the masculine. So again, this idea of the push-pull with doing and receiving, pleasure, play, opening yourself up to heart-centered fun, leadership, creativity, self-expression, all of that kind of energy with Venus in Leo, supporting this energy of Mars wanting to get your poop in a group in Virgo. And then they're both creating tension on the north node, the collective destiny in Aquarius, innovation, freedom, rebellion, shaking things up, sudden changes, all of that kind of energy. Huge potential. The full moon is always a time for release, but there's some really big potential to release your entire old life, okay? Anything that is holding you to the old paradigm, you have the chance to let that shit go and start completely new. Now, a lot of practitioners recommend against doing rituals or magic within the eclipse period, but as a chaos magician, I say that if you want to harness this energy, as long as you are calming your body down and putting your attention inwards on a regular basis, and you are centered in your internal locus, and you have that divine connection to divinity within your heart space, this is some powerful energy to harness as far as letting go of the past and stepping freshly into a new paradigm. But remember, there's always a gap. So like if you have fear about letting go of the past, you're not going to be able to step into you can't hold on to both at the same time, right? Like you have to fully let go in order for the new to come into being. Okay, so overall, just kind of looking at the collective themes of this lunation, the nodal access energy, this idea of like the ego versus the collective, letting go of that like self-centered, self-important, spiritual influencer, performative leadership, performative spirituality kind of energy, and stepping into the new paradigm, the new earth where everybody is valuable. There's no gurus, there's no hierarchy. Everybody is operating within the synarchy, which is the idea that everybody has a distinct note to play in the symphony of the human collective. And when they all play their distinct note, it creates the masterpiece. But everybody needs to know their note first, right? And in order to do that, you have to calm your body down and put your attention inwards, okay? So this is the new earth paradigm. Everybody is equally as valuable. Nobody is more valuable than anybody else, even though we're all different, okay? Also, this idea of truth versus illusion with this Piscean energy and all this retrograde energy in Pisces still, there is this idea of like disembodiment or like the appeal of disembodiment. So watch your self-soothing mechanisms, addictions, anything that keeps you out of your present moment, right? So whether it's substances, social media, other people, shopping, whatever, right? Try to be as grounded in your present moment as possible and don't get lost in the rose-colored glasses or like disillusionment, disembodiment that is possible with Pisces. Again, also this idea of like there's a lot of tension and like spicy kind of energy, chaotic kind of energy with this. So again, the people around you are experiencing this just as much as you. And if they're not aware of it, they're going to think that it's something attacking them, and then they're going to double down on that contraction. And so potential for fights or like really difficult kind of spicy conversation, misunderstandings is really high. So mind your words. And finally, I would say also this idea of really mitigating this push-pull between the masculine and the feminine, bringing those two together in equal parts. Remember, one part doing, one part receiving, one part nothing, okay? So like that's literally 2/3 receiving or doing nothing in order to actually create something. So there might be these echoes or gremlins kind of telling you that you need to be doing more, and that if you're not doing something that the world is going to end. So again, the remedy for that is to calm your body down and put your attention inwards. And P.S., if you would like some help in those two simple steps, I do have space for 2 high-level mentorship clients at this point in time. This is not for the casual seeker. It is for the true adept. There is a decently significant financial investment as far as the longer-term containers go, but I do also have the Codebreaker Lite, which is a mini mentorship container, 1 session, 1 week of voice note integration afterwards. Hit me up in the DMs on any of my social media platforms if that is calling to you. I also want to put in a little plug here for a brand new project that I've been working on with a group of heart-centered entrepreneurs, some pretty big names in the spiritual influence echelon, and we are building a community just for you. It is going to start as a way to connect with others, kind of like what I was doing with my Discord server, but on a much bigger scale. We're using the Circle platform, and it's going to have a whole library of different teachers and courses for you to empower yourself into a more spacious and spiritual way of being. So if you're interested in that, again, slide into my DMs and I will get you on the early bird list for that. Otherwise, though, folks, like this lunation, really, I don't like to sensationalize, but eclipse season is always pretty special, okay? And like, it's not like if you miss this energy, it's going to be the end of the world, but like harnessing this, like paying attention and harnessing these waves can just facilitate your development as a celestial being and your evolution into a more enlightened state, okay? So really, if you're feeling some sort of way, I would not be surprised. Remember, again, to reiterate, like a broken record, everything that is happening outside of you is happening for you, okay? It is intentional. You do not need to crumble. You do not need need to stress. You do not need to be afraid of anything. If you are feeling a certain type of way, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, mitigating that by taking care of your body, purifying yourself, avoiding substances, avoiding processed foods, getting your body into the sunlight, getting your bare feet on the ground, getting yourself in your whole self into a body of water or a bathtub if you don't have a natural body of water. All these things can help to mitigate the external effects and calm your body down so that you're more able to go within, okay? Because remember, nothing is ever really that deep. We're just playing this silly game in these human meat suits, okay? So let me know how you're feeling in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And if you like this sort of content, I would love it if you sent this video to somebody who you think might benefit from it. And if you're still listening to this, thank you so much for supporting me with your ears and eyes and hearts. And I will see you in the next one.